Live performances by Wisdom, Gary Antol, and regional favorite Metro will keep the energy going all day long. The celebration ends with a fantastic fireworks display lighting the skies over Brownsville. Today is free to attend, with lots of great food and drink options available for purchase. For more information, visit Brownsville Riverfest on Facebook. See you there.
This is the story of a 7-year-old boy from Baltimore who nagged his parents incessantly for a pony until they moved to the mountain. There, over 40 years, I learned everything I could about the farmsteading lifestyle from great mentors. Oh, and by the way, I got my pony. I named him Captain. Alrighty, folks, welcome once again to Farmsteaders Field Notes. I'm your host, Shawn from the mountain. Glad you decided to join me here on WMBS 590 AM, 101.1 FM, www.wmbs590.com, and, of course, if you're watching on Facebook Live. As always, if you have an agricultural event that is open to the public, please make a comment or get in touch with me, and I will do my very, very best to promote it. Just a few items to talk about before we get going here. If you were listening earlier on today at WMBS, Matt Sapienza, his Get Up and Go show, it really kind of spoke to me today more than any other time. But today it really spoke to me because he was doing the word jumble for the week. And he was, they always give the letters that are going to be in the word jumble. And he said S as in super and B as in broke, super broke. I think it was kind of judging me a little bit there. But anyway, Matt Sapienza did make some excellent points. This week, please be safe out there, especially farmers. You're out there working in the fields. You're tending your livestock. Heat stroke is a real danger out there right now, and a lot of other things that go along with this kind of heat. Lower your blood sugar, all kinds of things, a lot of stress that adds to you and to your livestock. So be extremely, extremely careful out there. I can tell you that this week I overdid it myself. I scared myself for the first time ever out there working in the 95-degree heat. And like all farmers, I feel like the livestock needs to be tended first. They need to be our top priority. And so I'm out there doing all of my work, and all of a sudden, just almost out of nowhere, I'm massive headache and extreme weakness. Like I just felt like I was absolutely going to pass out. And so, you have to always remember, you're not doing anybody any service by making yourself sick or making yourself ill. So by all means, safety first, take care of yourself first, even though it's hard to do that on a farm. But if you have any of the following symptoms: an extremely high temperature, if you have confusion, disorientation, agitation, slurred speech, if you feel like a seizure is coming on, or that you may actually lose consciousness, if you feel changes to your skin, extreme dryness to the skin, or extreme sweatiness, flush skin, if your pulse is getting rapid, if your breathing is getting shallow, if you get nauseated, you get the symptoms I had: extreme throbbing headache, dizziness, extreme weakness. Like I felt like a 3-year-old could have just beaten the crud out of me. Make sure that you get out of that and get into some air conditioning before anything more severe happens. Take your health and your life in your own hands by all means. Safety first, folks. Safety first. Safety to our farmers. And if you're passing by a farmer and you see any kind of distress, please be sure to help them and stop and render any assistance that you possibly can. It's a dangerous time out there. Extreme, awful heat and high humidity. Another thing that I kind of wanted to mention last week, we were talking about, because it was so rainy before it was doing all this extreme heat, it was extremely rainy. We were talking about bedding, livestock bedding. And one of my friends from up north, my friend Donna, hi Donna, shout out to Donna up there in Shingle House near the New York border. She said, of all the bedding things that you were talking about, you didn't talk about hemp. Hemp. Huh. Well, that's going to go to a commercial. Never fails. But She was talking about hemp bedding, and the funny thing about hemp bedding is that beyond being what we obviously think about with hemp, which is fun times, but it's also used, of course, to make rope and other things. But one of the side pieces that we can use it for bedding. It's extremely dry when they cut it and they save it. So thank you, Donna, for pointing that out. And if anybody has any experience using hemp as a bedding, by all means, let me know about it. We'll talk a little bit more about it here on the show. All right, let's try to do the news. Maybe this will actually work this time. All right, thank you, technology. Finally. Okay, anyway, in the news, farmers look to combat cheap Mexican produce. U.S. produce growers are seeking federal help to compete against less expensive imported fruits and vegetables. Jim Alderman, the owner of Alderman Farms in Boynton Beach, Florida, told a Senate panel June 4th that a 20% tariff isn't enough to disadvantage Mexican produce. He suggested setting a minimum price based on U.S. farmers' cost of production, with a tariff on top of that for imported produce. We don't want the government to give us anything, but get us on a level playing field with Mexico and Canada, Alderman said. After the North American Free Trade Agreement launched in 1994, Mexican growers sought and outcompete Florida tomato growers. 20 years later, they're growing pepper and squash, corn and beans, and every vegetable we grow, all the way up the East Coast, all the way to Jersey and past, Alderman said. And Mexico isn't the only competitor. Other countries are undercutting crops from around the U.S., such as Turkish cherries competing with Michigan's, said Zippy Duvall, the president of the American Farm Bureau Federation. It's time for our country to stand up and say no more, Duvall said. Farms in Mexico and elsewhere are able to keep prices low because they have cheaper wages and less stringent food safety requirements than U.S. farms do, Alderman said. To help with labor costs, Duvall said Congress should freeze the adverse effect wage rate, the formula used to set the pay of foreign farm workers under the H-2A visa. H-2A rates have risen quickly in recent years, and Duvall said they risk becoming unaffordable for farmers. Adding to the cost, farmers must provide H-2A workers with housing, pay for their visas, and cover transportation to and from their home countries. They're great labor. They're good. Without them, we couldn't harvest our crop, but we can't compete with the cheap prices of tomatoes coming from Mexico, Alderman said. The H-2A visa also needs to accommodate year-round workers, Duvall said. H-2A is designed for seasonal workers, which limits its value to dairy farmers. Also in the news, Ag chairman sees tough budget fight. Uncertainty about federal funding is complicating Pennsylvania's budget negotiations, a top Ag lawmaker says. The state already faced big questions about funding, transit, and education. But with Washington in the midst of cutbacks, it's hard to know how much federal support Pennsylvania can count on for agriculture and other programs, said Republican Eddie Day Polhinsky, a Democrat from Luzerne County, the chairman of the House Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee. The haphazard way by which the feds are conducting business, it's not only reckless, but it's going to cost money. It's going to cost jobs, Polhinsky said. The federal government provided $102 million, or 30% of the Pennsylvania Ag Department's budget for the current fiscal year. The federal money went to avian influenza surveillance, spotter and lanternfly control, farmland preservation, food assistance, and other programs. President Donald Trump's administration has cut many existing commitments and has proposed more reductions in its budget. Among the casualties is the Local Food Purchase Assistance Cooperative Agreement Program, which helps states get local food to food banks. U.S. Ag Secretary Brooke Rollins has said she wants to discontinue the program because it has tied to the pandemic and states have not been able to spend the money in a timely manner. Pennsylvania has spent 90% of the money it has been allocated under the program, according to USDA statistics. Governor Josh Shapiro announced June 4th that the state was suing the United States Department of Agriculture for terminating the program's agreements with Pennsylvania. Pahinski said it's unfortunate Shapiro had to file a lawsuit, but USDA is not honoring a contract and has not responded to requests for clarification. USDA's cut could also disrupt farmers who may lose markets for crops and are already in the ground, he says. It's hodgepodge in Washington. I've never thought I'd see it like this, Pahinski said. Okay. You know, I really probably shouldn't tempt fate, but I may try a little more technology here in a minute. But anyway, I'm sick of tempting it. But anyway, we do have some fairs coming up. You know what? Go ahead, give it a try.
Night at the county fair. Well, I know Monday morning I'll be back on the fence line, but it'll be alright. 'Cause that pretty little girl says she's gonna be all mine to see her next Friday night. Well, there's a full moon in the western sky, and there's magic in the air. Ain't nothing I know where can make you fall in love like a night at the county fair. Ain't nothing I...
Okay. Finally got that to work. That was good. Anywho, coming up and actually going on right now is our Mountain Area Fair. That's going on until June 28th. Make sure to catch that. That's up there at the Farmington Fire Hall. And I know that WMBS is going to be going live streaming there this evening. So good times up at the county fair up there. Mountain Area Fair, I'm sorry, up at Farmington. Coming up, June doesn't have a whole lot going on locally and around here, but coming up in July, just to let everybody know what's going on, July in Maryland, from the 11th to the 19th, the Allegheny County Fair and Ag Expo in Cumberland, Maryland's happening. July 12th to the 19th, the West Virginia Poultry Association is having their convention and festival. That usually happens near Petersburg, West Virginia. July 13th to the 19th, the Dairy Township Agricultural Fair will be going on. That's in Westmoreland County. July 15th through the 19th, the Paw Paw District Fair in Reedsville, West Virginia. July 15th through the 19th is the Jacktown Fair. That will be happening in Greene County. July 20th through the 26th, the Bedford County Fair, Bedford, Pennsylvania. That's always a really nice one. July 21st through the 26th is the Hampshire County Fair. That's Augusta, West Virginia. July 23rd through the 26th will be the Nicholas County Fair, Summersville, West Virginia. Of course, July 24th through August 2nd, our very own Fayette County Fair happening there, Dunbar, Pennsylvania. And again, we'll be doing our live broadcast of the show during the fair that week. July 26th through August 2nd is the Tri-County Fair in Petersburg, West Virginia, and also the Garrett County Fair in McHenry, Maryland. So again, a lot of our fairs going on at the same time because we have those kind of things happening. But if you can, do your best to kind of attend as many as you can. It's really great to support our local agriculture. So fairs coming up. Also, just wanted to mention that going on right now, a lot of our people that are going and attending the fair, we talked about some of our festivals that happen that involve sheep shearing and using a lot of the wool and recycling that product. But as usual with recycling, again, I'm going to try technology again, and maybe it'll
Sometimes
work. Maybe
we're
won't
not
work,
the sharpest tool
but
in the shed.
Let's try this. my little cue button that cues my producer here when to hit the music is not working. So I'm having all kinds of difficulties today. But anyhow, in our recycling segment here today, wool. Whenever we're shaving off some of these market lambs, we talk about the quality of our wool. Some of it can use for clothing and all the things that we talked about at our festival. But some of it, like on most of our market lambs out there, the quality of the fleece is not that good. So whenever they're shaving these market lambs, and there's a ton of them through all of our county fairs and things, what else can we do with the wool? Well, it's naturally biodegradable, and it's a wonderful weed suppressant. If you take those fleeces that you shave off of the lambs and you put them down underneath some of your, plants that are growing up that get quite tall, actually, you can actually use them as a biodegradable weed suppressant. And in many times, it'll retain moisture, especially when we have these extremely hot days. And pests hate it. Pests hate to walk across this wool. So, especially things like the caterpillars and things. And it's a good insulation too on some of your plants too on some of the cooler nights. So. And I know a couple people that are contractors, and they shave their sheep. The wool isn't worth much. They put it down on the road, and it holds gravel. Believe it or not, it holds the gravel when they put it down on top of their roadways. They put the wool down first, spread some gravel on top of it. So, again, just something to mention on our recycling segment here on Farmsteaders Field Notes. If you're shaving your sheep out there and you don't really have a whole lot to do with the wool, here's a couple of ideas to do with it. Hey, you know what? We've got a guest calling in today, and I'm extremely excited about this because June is still, of course, Dairy Month. And everybody, when they think Dairy Month, they're thinking the whole big Holstein dairies, the big cows, and we've talked to a lot of them here on the show. But this time I wanted to do something a little bit different. So if our guest is there, are you there, caller?
Yes, I am.
Hi. Why don't you start off by introducing yourself first?
No problem. My name's Ray Perkins. I own Springtop Farms up in Acme, PA. We have a dairy farm here for goats.
And I really wanted to talk to you because I'm a goat enthusiast myself. And, first of all, before you go any further, because sometimes we run a little bit long, go ahead and give us the information of how people can contact you, where they can find you, and then if we have time, we'll do it again at the end. But sometimes the CBS News cuts me off. So go ahead. I want to give you that chance. So go ahead and just tell us how we can get in contact with you at Springtop Farms.
Perfect. Yes, so we are located in Acme. We have a small farm store on our property as well. We're open Sundays 11 to 2. We also have Facebook. Just type in Springtop Farms. As well as the website, www.springtopfarms.com.
Wonderful. Okay. So, Ms. Perkins, let's talk about this goat thing a little bit, okay? Because, one goat person to another goat person. How on earth did you get started in the world of goats, of dairy goats?
So it's a funny story. When I met my husband, he was just starting a small little farm up here. And everybody kind of around here does more of the cattle aspect, whether it is with beef cattle or dairy cattle. So we wanted to do something a little bit different, and that's why we kind of got into the goat aspect. There seemed to be a bigger market, not only just for pets for goats, but milking goats. So we make soaps with it. We make lotions with it. We also sell our milk, and we're actually in the process of building a larger creamery on our property to be able to sell to retail stores for goat milk and goat milk cheese.
Oh, that's very exciting. That's very exciting and very, very hard to do. So I don't, envy that task because, like I said, I've looked into that one myself, and it's quite a lot of regulation, isn't it?
It is. They definitely kind of make you go through a lot of hoops through the whole process. But it's something we've always talked about, and kind of this was always the big picture for us in the end. So we're really excited.
That's wonderful. And I think you're already sort of ahead of the game in that, like you talked about, you're going to utilize it yourself. You're not trying to ship milk somewhere else into,
Correct.
Another market. because that seems to be the sort of the stumbling block for a lot of the goat dairies, is that
Yeah.
they sort of have this co-op or something that's sort of started, and they have some place to ship it, and then all of a sudden, boom, for whatever reason, the market falls through, and all of a sudden there's 4 or 5 just holding the basket there, and nothing can be done with it. So
Yep.
the fact that you're way ahead of the game, so you're so smart to do this, that you're already utilizing and selling direct on your farm, which I want to talk to you a little bit more about too. Your farm shop. So if I was to walk into, well, first of all, I'm going to even back up and go back farther than this. Acme, Acme. Everybody seems to not know where Acme is. Okay, because I've asked 3 people today, and I know I've seen a sign. I know I've passed it a bazillion times or gone through it even probably, and I didn't know that I was there. So can you sort of give me a where Acme is in relation to, you're still in Fayette County, I assume, right?
We are actually in Westmoreland
Oh,
County.
Westmoreland County. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, we're literally at the very tip between Westmoreland, Somerset, and Fayette County.
Oh my goodness, no wonder. Okay, so if I was driving there, what would let's say if I were coming from what would be the closest bigger town to Acme?
So we are about 10 minutes from both Donegal and Mount Pleasant. We're kind of in between the two.
Okay, so that's why I'm seeing it, because I'm driving through Donegal. Okay, so that makes sense. But I just wanted to clear that up because it just seemed like I've seen a sign for it a billion times, and I didn't ever know if it was actually an Acme or not. But anyway, so you're in Acme, and you have you're basically doing direct sales is what you're doing, because you have your own shop on your own property.
Correct.
So how big is your place? Let's just start off with that.
So we have just under 40 acres here. We make all our own hay and stuff. We have just a small farm shop right now. Me and my husband also work full-time on top of doing this.
Oh, my.
So we're only open on Sundays. We sell our milk in there. We sell eggs. We sell our soaps. We also teamed up with a couple other local small farms and small businesses from around the area that they sell their stuff in our shop as well. We love it. We offer bottle feeding sessions for our baby goats, some of our baby cows as well. So we kind of do it all with it.
Well, I really appreciate the fact that you sort of open the place up, because that isn't easy. I mean, animals are consistent mess makers, and that's something I will just never do. Will be open up to the public. No matter how much they want, because I'm a one-man show, and I know if you and your husband are working full-time, I mean, oh my gosh, I mean, it just becomes an overwhelming thing sometimes, and trying to keep the place clean on top of everything else, the daily chores and the daily grind, that can just be very, very hard, very hard. So
it's definitely a lot. I love it though. I absolutely love dealing with the animals and just getting to meet people. And, a lot of people will come here and say, like, I've never been able to pet a cow before or a baby goat. And it's always cool to see all the kids and everything, that they get to enjoy it and have like just a little special place for them.
Well, I commend you on that too, because it's sort of good to put a good face on agriculture, and seeing where all the products that you consume, on a daily basis, where it actually comes from and how much work it is. So, I mean, that's very, very commendable. So you have the dairy goats, you have, you said calves, you got some other things, sort of like, I guess it's like, hands-on petting for the folks that come and visit. So, I mean, I think that's great. What breeds of dairy goats are you dealing with there?
So we have Alpines and Nigerian dwarfs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The Alpines I can empathize with. I have those. But the Nigerian dwarves, how do you have any hair left on your head? Let me just ask you that. Because the screaming and the yelling, the vocal, ornery, but also the ability to keep them in a fence, I think, is an extreme challenge with that breed, isn't it?
It definitely is. They are very sneaky. A lot of times people will come here because we do sell off a lot of our babies, and everybody normally wants the dwarfs, but I tell everybody the alpines are the ticket. They are just gentle giants. They listen. They are very just chill animals. But yeah, the dwarfs, they definitely like to sneak out of the fence when they can.
So what's the appeal? What is the appeal for you beyond? I mean, I know they're very cute babies, in your petting zoo setting. But what's the appeal for them beyond that to you? What makes them worth the trouble that they cause?
So they actually have very good milk. They have a very high fat content in their milk. So it's nice and creamy. It has a little bit of better taste. So we actually mix the Nigerian dwarf milk with our alpine milk because since the alpines are bigger, they do produce a lot more and they're a lot easier to milk. But the dwarfs just have a little bit, like I said, higher fat content in their milk. And it's a nice mixture of the two in the end.
And I guess it's important to say because if you're gonna do this creamery, that your alpines are probably going to be some of your longer sustaining milkers, right? They're going to probably
Correct.
they're probably going to go farther into the lactation than what the Nigerians will do. They tend to be sort of like a summer spurter. They get like a higher lactation and then sort of drop off in the fall. And
Yep.
I think your alpines are probably going to be the ones that you can probably stagger the milking schedule a little better for and get them to milk later into the year because you're going to be a year-round open
Yep.
creamery, I assume,
Yep.
right?
We'll be year round.
Okay, so that's that's obviously why the alpines would be of some appeal. And you grow your own hay,
Yes.
we're saying.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so for the dairy, I know goats can be a challenge for hay because mine are extremely picky. There's only some things that they're going to eat and beyond just consuming that actually go ahead and produce milk. So what kind of hay are you growing?
So we do a mixture of Timothy hay and I can't remember the other one off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of my husband's department.
Yeah. Well, no, I get it. I mean, and that's, it's got to be a shared responsibility thing because, like I tell you,
Yep.
I'm a one-man band and sometimes I'm about ready to lose it. So it's nice when you have somebody else to share it with and to kick ideas and stuff back and forth. But
Absolutely.
so
Yep. But yeah, they definitely can be picky. I think goats kind of get a bad rep thinking that they'll eat everything and anything. And I don't know about yours, but mine tend to be very picky about things.
I'm the same way. I tell them, if you think goats will eat anything, just walk under their hay feeder and watch how much they've picked out that they
Yep.
don't want and is dropped on the ground and ends up having to be, I have to put it in the compost pile or turn it over for bedding or something because they just they go in there and they find exactly what it is that they want and that's what they're going to go to first. And, I have to laugh too. Everybody comes up with these really creative hay feeders for goats so that it supposedly saves the hay from falling out and everything. And I get that, but you're just going to keep, the way they pick through it, you're just going to keep piling it on top of it. So all
Yep.
these really creative hay feeders that save hay, all it's doing is piling the hay up in it. And the goats, I mean, they look at me, they'll starve. I mean, they will. Mine anyway. They look at me like, buddy, you better come up with something better or we are going on a diet. We are
Absolutely.
we're going to dry off. We're not going to produce any more milk. I am not going to help you out here at all. You've got to come up with something better. So, in addition to that, again, because hopefully listening is a bunch of other people that also raise livestock. But starting off with your, and again, being Dairy Month, I'm primarily focusing on your goats here.
Yeah.
But what do you do in terms of feed? Like, like a protein feed or do you do a pellet or a mixed grain,
Yeah. So we
coarse grain, whatever I'm trying to think of. Yeah.
Yeah. So we actually get all our feed handmade up at Hildebrands in Madison, PA. And so it's a higher protein. They do roasted soybeans. They do the distilleries. They mix in some corn, like cracked corn. And also we do free choice minerals for everybody. And then we normally do all first cutting hay for them, just because we've noticed with second cutting hay, we thought it would have been better for them when we first started. And man, it just went right through them. So we do all first cutting hay for them. And then they get little treats every once in a while as well. But for the most part, they do really, really good on just the feed that we get made up for them.
Yeah, and you definitely hit on something there that's important is the mineral profile for goats.
Absolutely.
Oh, I mean, what I spend on minerals. I mean, you put them out there again. It's like a free choice. You know, you have to sort of put it out free choice. You can't just put a block out there. Because if they're hitting the block, then they're already sort of depleted. So. And they can't lick it off fast enough, right? And so you put out what sort of looks like the old Ponderosa salad bar. When I was a kid, I used to go to Ponderosa and they had a salad bar. And so we've got these mineral feeders lined against the wall for these goats with everything from baking soda for better digestion, from this mineral that has selenium in it, for this mineral that had magnesium in it, blah, 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 blah. And so you got this buffet of minerals, and then they go on to infuriate you because then they won't touch one for months, and then the other one they'll just gobble, right? Yep. So you're like, but in a way, it's a good thing because they're telling you what they're depleted in. It's a good thing. So we appreciate their input as to what we can feed and what we can't feed. But they're kind of a headache when it comes to that. So finding all those minerals, and something else you said too that really triggered with me is, that you're going to sort of a local mill. You're having them mill your feed specifically. Yep. And I can tell you that too, as goat people, we are kind of a pain in the neck because, my goats are going to eat something different than your goats are going to want to eat, and so on and so forth. So having your grain mixed and having somebody that can do that reliably is so important, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, yes, it definitely is. We've tried everything under the sun when it comes to feed. We've tried a couple of different feed mills. We have even gone to like Tractor Supply because they went off of one feed and then wouldn't want to eat another feed. And then we got hooked up with this local mill, Hildebrand. And I'll tell you what, my goats have never looked better. They keep their weight on. Their milk production is fantastic. And it's been a blessing because they're not like going off the feed and telling me like, hey, I'm done with this and I have to go find another place. So yeah, it's really nice, and I like that it's all local, because like me and my husband drink the milk. My 3-year-old son drinks the milk. He was always raised on it, and I like knowing what's in my milk. I like knowing what's going into my body, my son's body, and everything. So it's nice. It's nice local. You can support local better. I'm all about it.
That's exactly right. It's your local economy. And it's helping your local economy, and it's this sort of this snowball effect. You just a local farm store. What you do, it stimulates so many other things in the local economy. So that's wonderful. And you mentioned something else too, that you and your family you're consuming the milk, and not a slam on cow milk, dairy cow milk in any way, shape, or form. But the goat milk does have elements that make it easier to digest, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So goat milk is a universal milk for both humans and animals. So if you would have a baby goat, I'm sure you know that you can't just go and give it cow milk. It can get extremely sick from that. But you can give pretty much any animal goat milk. I've had a lot of people come here and say, like, hey, I have a litter of puppies. The mom isn't nursing them, and they'll buy goat milk for it, or baby bunnies, kittens, baby cows, pretty much anything. It's just a good universal milk, and it has so many nutritious values to it. Also, like you said, for the digestion, I've I hear a lot of people that like, I can't drink this milk, cow's milk, because it upsets my stomach so much. And yeah, goat milk is pretty interesting. It's really, it's an awesome thing.
Well, it was one of the reasons why I asked you, like, why you got into goats, because a number of my friends, well, my family got started in it because it was the 4-H project, right? It was the 4-H project that we could take to the fair 40 years ago when I was a kid. The days of old when knights were bold and dinosaurs roamed the earth. I was a little boy, and they had, you took your fair projects, and of course a lot of them were terminal projects. Like the sheep had to be at the end, and the cows had to go at the end, and the pigs had to go at the end, and that's kind of hard and crushing on kids. So, we had the dairy goat project. So the dairy goats, they went home with us. We had them things 365 days a year. They weren't just get them in the spring and sell them in the fall, right? So, that's kind of how some people got started. But then a lot of people on the other end of the spectrum was, my baby couldn't drink milk, couldn't drink formula, couldn't drink this, couldn't drink that. And so the dairy goats showed up. Somebody told somebody, this little story about how they had a dairy goat that did that. And so that is really a frequent way that people even get involved with goats.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. I've had many, come and have had the same problems. It's, babies can't, won't take the formula, or they're dropping weight on formula, or, the moms can't breastfeed or anything like that. So, it's definitely just a really, really unique and interesting thing about just goat milk in general. I think people don't really give it credit. A lot of people say, oh, the goat milk, because they've had that one bad experience with the way goat milk tastes or the cheese of it.
Right.
And it's not always like that.
Right.
There's it just gets a bad name sometimes.
Well, and I think what's going to be great about your creamery when you get this going is that back in the old days, you could just have a goat tied in your backyard and make this work, right? And now people in the suburbs and in the city, this is obviously not going to be a solution in any way, shape, or form. To go to all the trouble to raise a goat. So, having accessibility. From your place to just kind of go and pick it up. I mean, just as convenient as anything else. And you were also talking about with your farm store, and I love that you were talking about this too. That you had things from other local farmers in your farm store, which is so super important to me. It's one of the things that I've always just sort of scratched my head about. I said, the reason why Dollar General store is so dang popular everywhere in every stinking community. Every time you bat an eye, they're building another Dollar General store, right? Every time, it's like, don't stand still for too long. You're going to become a Dollar General store. But again, they've got it going on. They use their head, everything in one spot, right? And so, you're driving past, if I'm driving past Acme, I'm going through Donegal, I don't want to stop at 17 little farm stands, to get everything that I need. And that's no slam on people, but you just can't do it. Time-wise, you can't do it to support them.
Absolutely.
So the fact that, you are cooperating with other people is just so much smarter than a lot of people that I talk to. So I appreciate that you do that, because when you can stop once, you can pick up a number of things. You said eggs and your cheeses and your whatever. But that's, to me, that's just key. That's just paramount. That if everybody just sort of in a community with the farms said, what, I'll take your this and you give me your this, and we'll sell it that way. And cooperation instead of competition. So anyway,
that's exactly it. Yep.
Yeah. So I just want to commend you on that. I thought that was really super smart of you. To be doing that. So, like, if I were to walk in the front door of your store, what would I see? Sort of give me kind of like an eyeball tour. Like when I walk in and I look to the left, what am I going to see? And I look to the right, what am I going to see? And I'm hearing the guard dogs. That's good. The goats are protected. The guard dogs are there.
Absolutely. So, We have, so our store, it's not huge. We started off kind of small just to see how things went. So when you walk in, we have our checkout counter right at the front. We have a bunch of goodies on top. We also have shelves all through the sides, and also a little refrigerator in there. So you'll see like all our soap set up. You'll see, we have like locally made honey, locally made maple syrup, some other like little goodies like candles that are all locally made as well. We have jewelry that some of our 4-H friends make, so it all goes back to them for their little projects.
Mm-hmm.
So just a little bit of everything, plants, just all kinds of good stuff.
All kinds of good stuff. You just got to go and show up and take a look around, right?
Absolutely.
So one of the things, while I got you here, I'm going to ask you a personal question myself. And again, this is a farmer personal question, not a personal question, but a farmer personal question. Because you're going to be opening up this dairy and this creamery, and obviously, what we do is we breed the animals in the fall and then they freshen in the spring, or hopefully, in your case, somehow sporadically doing it, so there's always this constant stream of milk, right?
Correct.
So, what are you doing, or how are you raising your kids, which are the young goats? For those that didn't know, how are you raising your kids on milk? If you're going to be using the milk, utilizing the milk, how are you going to be dealing with that situation?
So so when I milk now, I milk enough to be able to pull some back for the babies. I also, when I start to like dry my girls up, I will also start freezing some of the milk, so then I have it later on, as well as if at any point we need to freeze like any colostrum or anything like that from the moms, like for that situation too. So I do hold back a lot of the milk, so I do have enough in the end. I kind of made it like a little routine time frame of it all, so I can freeze some to be able to pull some out later on.
Well, you have to have a plan, don't you? I mean, you literally have to plan this out in advance. I mean, you have to
100%.
think about it. Yeah.
Yes. And it's different for everybody, I'm sure. But it's just something that we kind of figured out that works for us pretty well, that we don't run out of milk for the babies. We don't run out of milk to sell, and also milk for us. So
Right. Well, I mean, you're doing something very smart. You kind of do what I do, and it talks about, in a way, the adaptability and the wonderful properties of milk, that you can freeze it and that you can
Absolutely.
thaw it back out and still utilize it for what it needs to be utilized for. So, we sort of do this. We sort of do the same things. I also have Sonnens, which are mega milkers, and so thankfully they do a great job of just sort of overproducing in a way, and so that like you said, we can still feed 2 kids, but then still have milk beyond that. So that's a kind of a saving grace. But I wanted to ask you, because you have Nigerians, and like you said, the quantity isn't as high, but the quality is very high in butterfat and protein and whatnot. So thank you very much for talking. I'm running out of time. I knew this was going to happen. But for those of you out there, please check out the Perkins Great Springtop Farms in Acme, PA. And if you don't know where Acme is, look at the signs when you're driving through Donegal, right? And you'll find it,
Absolutely.
right? And like she said, you'll see it when you go through. Just check it out on Facebook, right?
Yep.
Thank you very much for joining me today. It's been wonderful talking to you. Thanks so much, dear.
Thank you.
You have a great day.
You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Alrighty, folks. And as usual, I ran it right up to the hour, and I'm running out of time. And we like to have a lot of fun here on Farmsteaders Field Notes. I want to thank my guest here for coming on and talking during June Dairy Month. We appreciate that very much. And as always, again, we do like to have a lot of fun here on Farmsteaders Field Notes. But there's nothing funny at all about mislabeling products. I'm taking my box of wine back. It said once opened it would last for 6 weeks, but that sucker, it barely lasted me 3 hours, I'm telling you. And my buddy Dave, he said when he read his box of wine, it said it had 36 glasses, but he doesn't need glasses, so he just sucked it right out of the tap. I know you're all asking, why can he drink wine out of a box? How can he do that? Well, they don't make it in a suitcase, so I guess I'm going to be stuck with it. But anyway, Card Bordeaux, love that stuff. Vino Collapso, good stuff. Anyway, I'll be trying to sip that cold wine this week and trying to stay safe. You folks do the same, okay? And stay tuned for CBS News at this hour coming up next.
You're listening to WMBS Uniontown. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem.